There are many different types of characters you can use in science stories: heroes, villains, helpers, mentors, and many more. In this video, we will explore the use of characters and plot for research stories. This video is one of a 5-part series by FoodStories exploring the use of storytelling for food science communication. Stories describe a cause and effect relationship between characters and events that take place over a specific time and setting. Usually, the characters go through some kind of experience, and the plot has drama, conflicts, developments, and resolutions. Once you have thought about the key message you want to communicate, who your target audience is, and which channel and medium you will be using, it is time to start defining the characters of your story. Let's get started. A character is someone who plays an active role in a story. They usually become the drivers of the plot, and we experience the story through their eyes. For example, the struggles of the hero that saves the world from the evil villain. Characters are often human, either fictional or real. But sometimes they can also be an animal, like Mickey Mouse, or a specific species you are studying. Or else it can be an object, like the magic carpet from Aladdin, or the molecule your research focuses on. Can a real researcher become a character in a story? In our collection of best practices, we presented the true story of Russian scientist Nikolai Vavilov. Vavilov dreamed of ending world hunger, but he had to face many foes, including political mismanagement, war, and starvation. In the end, Vavilov became a true hero who not only pushed science forward, but also saved countless people from starvation. Vavilov was a real scientist, but he also serves as a character in this story. Political mismanagement is, in a sense, also a character, as one of the villains in the story. There are many different types of characters, and each should serve a purpose and move the story forward. The protagonist is the main character of the story, like Nikolai Vavilov from earlier or Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. They are usually trustworthy and compelling, but they also have flaws and obstacles they must overcome. During the story, the protagonist usually grows on a personal level through realizations. In science communication, the protagonists are usually the ones who are trying to solve a problem. Using researchers is a common practice, since personal experiences can engage the audience and make the research relatable. However, a word of caution. It can be perceived as self-centered if the story does not acknowledge other characters too. Let's say you are a scientist and you want to communicate your research about sustainable agriculture. The farmers could be the real heroes, while the scientist is a helper towards better practices. Another common character is the antagonist, or villain, who usually causes trouble or obstacles that the hero must overcome. As someone engaged in science communication, be cautious of the villain's role in a story. Sometimes it might be best to avoid using specific people as antagonists. Instead, consider using more neutral ground, for example by presenting funding issues or knowledge gaps as the antagonist the researcher is fighting against. Victims are another type of character. They are usually the ones who suffer harm, sometimes caused by the villain. It is important to avoid victimizing anyone. For example, we do not want to infer that someone is incompetent or helpless. Victims should be conveyed as equals to the protagonists, and sometimes they are even the real heroes of the story. Let's move on to the plot. The plot is the sequence of events that shapes the story. What happens, when, and why. Think about where characters are at different moments in the story. What are they doing, and why? What other characters are involved at any given moment? Where is the action? Where is the drama? And so on. And if you were wondering if it's better to develop a plot or the characters first, know that there is no exact rule. The two go hand in hand, so sometimes a situation will demand that we write a plot around a character, and sometimes it's the other way around. When it comes to plots, there are several structures commonly used. The classic plot structure comes from Aristotle, who said stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Another classic plot structure is the so-called hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. Campbell studied fairy tales and folk tales from all over the world, and found that they often follow a similar pattern. The hero's journey is thus the basis of countless stories with different plots, yet identical structure. A main character gets a call to action and leaves the peaceful and familiar home behind to set out on an adventure. The character must overcome a series of challenges and perhaps gets help from a mentor, gaining new knowledge or learning new skills. In the end, the main character reaches a resolution and has gained new knowledge or perspectives. Another typical structure is in medias res, which is a Latin expression meaning in the middle of things. This is often used in mainstream media, where we start a story with the most exciting part, and afterwards go back to the beginning to provide the important details and background information. This approach is typically used in stories where we want to hook the audience from the very beginning, such as in news stories, social media posts, elevator pitches, etc. Following the structure of in medias res, or the hero's journey in scientific communication, even if loosely, can help put your work into a familiar context for your audience. There are as many ways to tell a story as there are people to tell them, and just as many ways to write one as there are stories waiting to be told. If you think about it, even scientific papers follow a structure that reflects a basic plot. They start with an introduction, followed by the action taken through the choice of methods and the analyses carried out. Finally, they describe the results and end with a discussion or conclusion, which corresponds to the resolution of the story. Want to keep experimenting with new ways to tell your story? Follow the links in the description to check out the other videos of this series. You will also find links to more resources created by the FoodStories Erasmus Plus project focusing on storytelling in food science communication.